Our top focus tonight on Gravitas is on the big question: will US President Donald Trump's Gaza peace plan work? We are discussing where things stand and looking at the bigger picture. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has already accepted the proposal, and the American president has extended the deadline for Hamas to respond. We tell you all that you need to know. Also on the show for you tonight, Yemen's Houthi say they will target US oil firms with sanctions. Which are these firms? We're getting you the complete story and the implications. As the Pentagon chief blasts quote-unquote fat generals in a speech, which are the world's fittest militaries? We're getting you more on that. All this and more coming up. Will US President Donald Trump's Gaza peace plan work? Before we get into what's happening and the many layers to that question, here's a quick check on where things actually stand right now. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has already accepted that proposal, and the American president has extended his deadline for Hamas to respond from a 72-hour ultimatum to 4 days, warning Hamas that if they refuse, the group will face severe consequences, with Hamas leaders saying the plan is under review. The decision now rests with their leader, widely known among Palestinians as the Phantom. Al-Haddad became Hamas's top military commander in Gaza after the deaths of Mohammad Sinwar and Yahya Sinwar. In fact, the Israeli intelligence accuses Al-Haddad of being one of the masterminds behind the October 7 attack. Israel claims to have attempted to eliminate him on at least 3 occasions, identifying him as the country's most wanted man. Israeli intelligence believes that he is directing operations from northern Gaza, currently the new focus of Israel's offensive in the enclave. In fact, while Hamas deliberates, Palestinian Islamic Jihad has already rejected the plan. The group denounced the proposal as a framework that only extends Israeli aggression, as they call it. And at the same time, Qatar, Egypt, and Turkiye, 3 countries with the strongest channels to Hamas in a way, are reportedly urging the group to respond positively to Trump's Gaza peace plan. In fact, senior officials from these countries have held at least 2 rounds of talks with Hamas leaders in Doha over the last 48 hours. On the same evening as Trump unveiling the Gaza peace plan, the Qatari Prime Minister and Egypt's intelligence chief had presented it to Hamas in Doha, and they reportedly encouraged Hamas to accept the deal. Al-Thani reportedly told Hamas leaders that this was the best outcome available and unlikely to improve, adding that in his view, Trump was committed to ending the war. The following day, Al-Thani and Rashad returned to meet Hamas again, but this time they were joined by Turkey's intelligence director. And ahead of the meeting, Al-Thani told Al Jazeera that he hoped all sides would approach the plan constructively. But he also emphasized that Hamas must coordinate its response with other Palestinian factions in Gaza. Qatar's leader also voiced concerns over the deal. While Al-Thani welcomed the peace plan, he has sought more clarity on issues like post-war governance and the long-term structure for Gaza. and called the proposal an early draft that requires more work. While Hamas studies the proposal, the conflict continues on the ground. Palestinian officials reporting that Israeli airstrikes struck the city of Deir al-Balah in central Gaza, killing at least 5 people and injuring 12. In fact, Israeli strikes also allegedly struck a school in Gaza City's suburb, killing at least 7 people, according to the local health authorities. The visuals on your screen further showing Palestinians fleeing southward as Israel ramps up that offensive in Gaza. In fact, a video released by the Israeli army showing IDF troops conducting ground operations in Gaza City. The Israeli military has said it is closing the last remaining route for the residents of southern Gaza to access the north, as it increases its offensive on the enclave's largest urban area. Israel's defense minister earlier today said the military is tightening its encirclement of Gaza City, further issuing a final warning for the residents of the city to flee further south. Amid all of this, the spotlight remaining on Hamas's response, with regional mediators pressing for agreement. The question still is whether Trump's plan will finally open a path towards peace, or whether the war will further intensify. Regardless, Hamas's ultimatum time is closing. Meanwhile, Iran-backed Houthis are escalating their fight with Washington, this time not with missiles but with sanctions. The group saying it will target U.S. oil giants like ExxonMobil and Chevron, retaliating against American sanctions, even as a fragile ceasefire with the Trump administration hangs in the balance. The Sanaa-based Humanitarian Operations Coordination Center, HOCC, which is a body set up last year to basically liaise between the Houthi forces and the commercial shipping operators, sanctioned 13 U.S. companies, 9 executives, 2 vessels. The sanctions are allegedly in retaliation for U.S. sanctions imposed on the Houthis this year. Despite a truce agreement with the Trump administration in which the Yemeni group agreed to stop attacking U.S.-linked ships in the Red Sea and the wider Gulf of Aden, now it remains unclear whether these sanctions signal that the Houthis will begin targeting vessels linked to the sanctioned organizations, companies and individuals. But if they do, it would basically risk violating the ceasefire agreement with the Trump administration that was facilitated by Oman since 2023. The Houthis have launched numerous assaults on vessels in the Red Sea that they deem to be linked with Israel. They say it is in solidarity with the Palestinians over Israel's war on Gaza. Their attacks have had an impact on the vital oil tanker traffic through the Strait of Hormuz, which is located between Oman and Iran, connecting the Persian Gulf with the Gulf of Oman and the Arabian Sea. The Houthis have occasionally attacked ships in the Gulf of Aden, which connects the Red Sea and the Arabian Sea. On Monday, the Houthis also claimed responsibility for attacking a Dutch cargo ship in the Gulf of Aden with a cruise missile, injuring 2 crew and leaving the vessel ablaze and adrift. Last year, the U.S. imported about 500,000 barrels per day of crude and condensate from Gulf countries through the Strait of Hormuz. That represents about 7% of total U.S. crude oil and condensate imports, the lowest level in nearly 40 years, due to the increased domestic production and Canadian imports. And now the question still is, will the Houthis' decision to blacklist the American companies have any effect on the oil market? Experts don't think so. In fact, they say that the move is unlikely to actually impact the oil market, since most of the trade in the region is handled by Chinese, Russian, Iranian, and other Gulf companies that the Houthis want to keep on good terms with. Even the HOCC statement says, I'm quoting, "The ultimate goal of the sanctions is not punishment in itself, but to bring about positive behavioral change," quote unquote. You know how we sometimes hear one army mocking another's training? Well, in Washington, that jibe took a literal turn. US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth called a meeting with 800 of the military's top brass, generals, admirals, commanders, and let's just say he did not hold back. He said he is tired of seeing quote-unquote fat troops and beardos out on the battlefield. He even warned those who don't buy into his agenda to consider resigning. Not to be outdone, Senator Lindsey Graham piled on, saying, "A 600-pound man is more likely to pass up a donut than the Democrats are to shut down the government," quote unquote. Again, using a little dark humor there to land a major political jibe. Now, is this just shock talk here, or is there some truth to those claims, and what's really going on? After all, it's a matter of national security. And turns out, these 800 leaders would welcome higher standards of fitness across the ranks, but the US military already has fitness standards. Yes, they vary by branch, of course, and often adjust scoring by the age groups, but Pete Hegseth's message pushes the tone from meet the standard to look like you mean business, quote unquote. Let's just break down how exactly each US service handles fitness today. Let's start off with the US Army. As of June 2025, it has replaced its old test with the Army Fitness Test, AFT. The test now featuring deadlifts, push-ups, weighted sprints, planks, and a 2-mile run. Some combat roles require even tougher benchmarks. In the US Navy, it's push-ups, forearm planks, and either a swim or run for endurance. And in the US Air Force, run 1.5 miles, sit-ups, push-ups, and a waist-to-height ratio check. And combat roles face stricter rules. From 2026 on, airmen will be tested twice a year, with the 2-mile run counting for half the score. In the US Space Force, it started with Air Force standards, push-ups, run, plank, but it's now developing its own holistic fitness regime that considers continuous performance, health optimization, and capacity building. So yes, the US already expects a lot from its service members, but the question still is, does Hegseth's rhetoric change the culture? Because after all that talk, so-called fat generals, standards, resignations, the real question is, in the modern world, who are the fittest armed forces really? When it comes to the fittest armed forces in the world, the rankings are never simple, of course. Do we measure the fitness of the entire army or the extreme demands of the elite special forces, for example? Let's just start off with Russia. Spetsnaz. The training there is notorious. Long forced marches, brutal hand-to-hand combat, an unforgiving selection process that only the toughest can survive. Of course, the US Navy SEALs remain iconic, swimming miles in open water, Running under heavy load, surviving what is called Hell Week, the program has become the benchmark of modern military toughness. And then there is Israel's Sayeret Matkal, an elite commando unit whose endurance training and survival tests are basically designed to break even the strongest recruits. Closer home, the Indian Army's para-special forces are considered among the toughest in Asia. What's their dropout rate? Almost 90%, with candidates enduring weeks of continuous drills on minimal food and sleep. The British SAS is also legendary. From the Welsh mountains to the jungles of Belize, their grueling selection regime demands unmatched endurance as well as resilience. Now, of course, different nations, different standards. But one thing here is clear: physical fitness remains at the core of military readiness. Or, to borrow Pete Hegseth's phrasing here, in the modern battlefield, no general wants to be called the fat one. Before we go on any further, here's a quick look at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. How much will the US shutdown cost the US economy? What are the implications? We are getting you the details. This is coming up next. Taiwan is pushing back against US pressure over chip production. We tell you how. All this and more coming up. The US government has officially hit a wall just after midnight last night. A shutdown took effect after lawmakers failed to reach a deal on funding for the new fiscal year. What does that really mean? For federal workers, for services, and for the US economy as a whole, here's what you need to know. The US government officially entered a shutdown following a bitter stalemate in the Congress. Lawmakers were basically unable to pass either the 12 appropriations bills necessary to fund federal operations or a short-term continuing resolution to maintain current funding while the negotiations continued. The House Speaker, Mike Johnson, placed the blame on the Democrats, saying that they were holding out to extend Affordable Care Act tax credits that basically help millions of Americans pay for health insurance. Democrats, led by the House Minority Leader, Hakeem Jeffries, countered that, saying that Republicans were refusing to protect affordable coverage. The Congressional Budget Office estimating that around 750,000 federal employees will be furloughed. 750,000. In the initial days, at a daily payroll cost of roughly $400 million. This shutdown marks the first in nearly 7 years and threatens to disrupt a wide range of federal services, from healthcare administration to regulatory enforcement. As Americans brace for the effects of a political deadlock on Capitol Hill, the last shutdown, again during Trump's first term from December 2018 to January 2019, lasted 35 days and cost roughly $3 billion in lost economic activity. Many federal workers during that period struggled to afford childcare or commuting costs. Agencies have been slow to release contingency plans, but some have warned of potential impact. Historically, most shutdowns lasted only a few days, but federal workers face unpaid leave and financial strain. The government shutdown directly affects federal employees, dividing them into furloughed and accepted categories. Furloughed workers considered non-essential are sent home without pay, while essential personnel, including law enforcement, air traffic controllers, and active duty military, continue working but also go unpaid. Although the Congress has guaranteed retroactive pay for furloughed employees, Once operations resume, families living paycheck to paycheck may face immediate financial strain, struggling with mortgage, utility, grocery payments. Service members similarly receive back pay after the funding is restored. The longer the shutdown persists, the greater the financial pressure on both the furloughed and accepted employees, which basically tells you that the personal impact of the political deadlock is massive on everyday Americans. According to the Associated Press, Director of Congressional Budget Office has said that a short shutdown does not have a huge impact on the economy, especially since federal workers by law are paid retroactively. But if a shutdown continues, then that can give rise to uncertainties about what is the role of the government in our society and what the financial impact is on all the programs that the government funds. The impact may not be immediate, but over time, there is a negative impact of a shutdown on the economy. Also, the markets have not reacted strongly to the past shutdowns. In fact, at the close of the 3 prolonged shutdowns since the early 1990s, equity markets finished flat or even up. After initially dipping, a government-wide shutdown would directly reduce growth by around 0.15 percent points for each week it lasted, or about 0.2 percent points per week. Once private sector effects were included, growth would rise by the same cumulative amount in the quarter following the reopening. So while the essential services continue and the markets may hold steady for now, the real cost of this shutdown will be felt by the federal workers, families, and everyday Americans. Trying to navigate that uncertainty, lawmakers are back in session today, and all eyes will be on Capitol Hill to see if they can actually break the deadlock or if the government will remain at a standstill, with the economy and millions of lives caught in the balance. Are you someone who believes in talking to the dead? For some, it might be a bizarre question. For others, it makes perfect sense. And that includes the president of Poland. You know what he has said? He reportedly has said he has been talking practically every day to the ghost of a former de facto leader of the Second Polish Republic. What else has the leader said? He reportedly claims the two have discussed a range of issues, including the situation amid the Russia-Ukraine war. Remember, Poland, Romania, and Denmark have all recently been subject to drone incursions during the last month, which have forced the closure of airports. Let's just tell you more about what the Polish president has said. The leader he claims to be talking to was known for his anti-Russian and anti-Soviet views and played a major role in shaping the country's foreign policy. He devoted himself to protecting Poland against the Russian Red Army, which was trying to fight its way into Germany in order to consolidate the revolution there. Just a snippet of the kind of influence the leader has had there. Earlier, Poland shot down suspected Russian drones in its airspace with the backing of aircraft from its NATO allies, remember. The first time a member of the Western military alliance is known to have fired shots during Russia's war in Ukraine. In fact, the Polish Prime Minister had told the parliament it was the closest we have been to open conflict since World War II, quote unquote. Though he also said he had no reason to believe that they are on the brink of war. Here's what else happened immediately. Moscow denied responsibility for the incident, with a senior diplomat in Poland saying that the drones had come from the direction of Ukraine. In fact, Russia's defense ministry had said its drones had carried out a major attack on military facilities in western Ukraine, but it had not planned to hit any targets in Poland. Now, what the Polish president has now said is significant, given the current situation and where things stand in the Russia-Ukraine war. But there's also a significant aspect of curiosity attached, given that he is claiming to talk to a leader who has passed away, saying that they discuss history and politics. Let's now shift our focus to Pakistan, where former Prime Minister Imran Khan is facing what his family and supporters describe as conditions meant for prisoners awaiting execution. According to a report by The Times, Khan remains locked in Adiala jail, Rawalpindi, inside a cramped, solitary cell that his family says is designed to break his spirit and silence his voice. Khan has been placed under round-the-clock surveillance with almost no contact with the outside world. His family says the cell, measuring 9 by 11 feet, lacks light, air, or access to basic medical care. His younger son, Qasim, called it nothing short of torture, warning that the confinement is not about justice, but about suppressing political dissent. His two sons, Suleiman and Qasim, children from his marriage to Jemima Goldsmith, have reached out to world leaders, in fact, including US President Donald Trump, urging intervention. They insist their father is being stripped of fundamental rights, denied regular lawyer visits, and cut off from family communication. In a letter allegedly smuggled from prison, Khan himself described being trapped in a dungeon of silence, quote unquote, with no access to newspapers, books, or consistent medical attention, as claimed. He accused Pakistan's military leadership of orchestrating a campaign to crush him politically. He also alleges that his wife, Bushra Bibi, is enduring mistreatment behind bars to pressure him further. Khan became Pakistan's 19th Prime Minister in 2018 with the backing of the country's military. He was ousted in 2022 following a no-confidence vote. And amid constant friction with the Pakistan army and its generals, since then the courts have handed him a 14-year sentence in a corruption case involving land deals. More than 300 additional charges, ranging from contempt to misuse of state secrets, hanging over him. Khan insists these cases are fabricated, calling them a calculated attempt to force him into exile or submission. And his party, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, has petitioned the United Nations and rallied supporters worldwide, saying the harsh prison conditions prove their claims of persecution. Advisors close to Khan warning his health is worsening, claiming that the former Pakistan cricket captain suffers from vertigo and hearing issues. With no recent medical evaluation, Pakistan's government has rejected all allegations of abuse. The country's interior minister saying Khan has access to exercise equipment, books, specially prepared meals. Further claiming that Khan's sister, Alima, and lawyers visit regularly, adding that Khan is healthy and cared for. Chaudhry also accused his sons of trying to politicize the matter without applying for visas to meet him in jail. Back in July, Khan's ex-wife had said that her sons have no role in Pakistan politics and should not be prevented from speaking to their father, stating that the matter is not political, rather it's a personal vendetta. For now, Imran Khan remains cut off, locked in solitary confinement under conditions likened to death row. His family warning that silence from the international community risks not only his life, but also the future of Pakistan's democracy. On to Nepal now. It has chosen its new living goddess. 2-year-old Aratara Shakya has been chosen as the next Kumari or virgin goddess of the country. Before entering the temple palace, the minor girl was paraded through the narrow streets of the city. Thousands of devotees lined up to seek blessings and offered her flowers and money. She succeeds 11-year-old Trishna Shakya, who held the role since 2017. Just for context here, in Nepalese tradition, the goddess becomes a mere mortal after she reaches puberty. Living goddesses are selected between the ages of 2 and 4, are required to have unblemished skin, hair, eyes and teeth. It's also demanded that they must not be afraid of the dark and are allowed outside the temple palace only a few times a year for festivals. Like tomorrow, the main day of the Dussehra festival, when she will bless the president. In recent years, the tradition has evolved. Kumaris now receiving private tutoring and even have access to modern comforts like television. And when their time nears, They are given a small monthly pension by the government. The arrest of self-styled Godman, Swami Chitananda Saraswati, has exposed disturbing evidence of his alleged abuse of women students. According to reports, the police confirmed WhatsApp chats that reveal repeated attempts allegedly to manipulate and exploit young women. One conversation reportedly shows him pressuring a student to arrange a meeting for what he called a Dubai Sheikh for sexual relations. When the student declined, he pressed further, even asking if she had classmates or juniors who could be introduced. Other exchanges revealing a rather troubling pattern of obsessive and infantilizing messages. He repeatedly addressed the victim as baby and daughter doll, flooding her phone with messages morning and night. At times, he asked direct sexual questions, including whether she would sleep with him. In another instance, he joked about, quote, doing some disco dance and urged a student to join. The police have arrested him on Sunday from a hotel in Agra, where he had allegedly checked in under the alias Parthasarthi. Officers saying that he had been on the run for nearly 2 months, frequently moving between Vrindavan, Mathura, Agra, while hiding in budget hotels and using taxis to avoid being captured. During the arrest, police seized multiple phones, an iPad, fake visiting cards that falsely identified him as a UN and BRICS envoy. They also recovered 2 passports with conflicting personal details. His assets worth 8 crore rupees have now been frozen. Investigators revealing he withdrew over 50 lakh rupees after the FIR was registered in August, allegedly using forged documents. Authorities also detained 3 women aides, accused of helping him intimidate students and erase evidence. The allegations originally surfaced at his private management institute in Delhi. And according to the FIR, he harassed at least 17 students, summoned them to his quarters at night and sent explicit messages at odd hours. He is currently in police custody and, along with his aides, is being interrogated. Now, this case has once again raised urgent questions about unchecked abuse under the guise of spirituality. Moving on for now to rather concerning developments, India is facing a deeply troubling crisis. The number of student suicides has reached a record high. According to the latest National Crime Records Bureau data, 13,892 students died by suicide in 2023, marking a 6.5% rise from 2022, a 6.1% rise from 2021, and a 10.8% jump from 2020. Now, these are not just figures. They are sons, daughters, classmates, friends, perhaps overwhelmed by different facets of their life. Over the last decade, student suicides have surged by nearly 65%, from 8,423 in 2013 to the current record, while overall suicides in India rose 23.2% in 2023, reaching 1,71,418. Between 2013 and 2023, India lost 1,17,849 students to suicide. Experts warn that academic stress, family expectations, and emotional challenges are taking a devastating toll and calling for stronger support systems from schools, colleges, and families. According to the NCRB 2023 report, student suicides accounted for 8.1% of all suicides reported last year. Of the 13,892 students who died, 7,330 were male, 6,559 female, 3 were transgender. The highest proportion of student suicides was reported in Maharashtra, 14.7%, followed by Madhya Pradesh at 10.5%, Uttar Pradesh at 9.9%, Tamil Nadu 9.6%. In terms of education level, most victims were educated up to class 10 or secondary level, making up 24.6% of the cases. And this was followed by class 8 or middle level at 18.6%, class 12 or higher secondary at 17.5%, class 5 or primary level at 14.8%, and illiterate individuals at 11.8%. Graduates or higher accounted for 5.5% of the cases. In response to rising student suicides, the government has launched initiatives offering a toll-free helpline with counselors, along with interactive sessions and webinars broadcast on different platforms as well. Additionally, the tele-mental health assistance and networking across states helpline was launched on October 10, 2022, providing nationwide mental health support. The Supreme Court has also set up a national task force on mental health concerns of students to assess educational institutes' resources and strengthen services and suggest strategies for suicide prevention. The task force is yet to submit its interim report. This data is a stark reminder of the urgent need for mental health awareness and support systems for India's youth. This is a wake-up call, one that demands awareness, intervention, and action before more young lives are lost. America's top public health agency has once again started using the word monkeypox instead of Mpox, reversing a decision made just 2 years ago. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention quietly changed its website to bring back the older name. And this shift comes under the Department of Health and Human Services, now overseen by Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. The agency had adopted Mpox in late 2022 to move away from what experts called a misleading and scientifically inaccurate. Monkeypox or Mpox causes painful skin lesions that can sometimes be fatal. It spreads mainly through close contact, often sexual contact, and recent outbreaks have struck parts of Africa, including the Democratic Republic of Congo and Sierra Leone. The World Health Organization recommending dropping the old name in 2022 for 2 reasons. First, the virus does not come from monkeys. It typically passes to humans from wild rodents found in Central and West Africa. Scientists only called it monkeypox because it was first noticed in lab monkeys in the 1950s, though those animals likely caught it from infected rodents. Second, the term carries racist and homophobic undertones. During the 2022 outbreak, online misinformation falsely suggested the virus spread through sexual contact with monkeys. The label worsened the stigma against gay and bisexual men, who were most affected at the time. In November 2022, the top US public health agency told the public that adopting Mpox would reduce unnecessary harm and promote more accurate communication. The agency also encouraged all partners to use the newer name. When asked why the term monkeypox has resurfaced on the website, a Health and Human Services spokesperson simply replied that monkeypox is the official name of the disease. Now, this is not the first time that the Trump administration has been criticized for using stigma or scientifically inaccurate details in a way to label a disease. Remember, during the COVID-19 pandemic, the US president repeatedly described the coronavirus as the Chinese virus, a phrase widely condemned for being racist in a way and aggravating anti-Asian hostility in the United States, reportedly. And with America now turning back to the term monkeypox, the question over how names and labels affect stigma and public trust is once again in the spotlight. China's Gen Z finding comfort in places you might not expect. Soft toys and artificial intelligence, with careers harder to secure, studies more competitive than ever, the economy dragging. Millions of young Chinese relying on soft toys and AI to manage loneliness, stress, anxiety. According to a report by the social media platform Soul App and the Shanghai Youth Research Center, more than 9 out of 10 people born after 1995 in China now see emotional value as a necessity in their spending habits. Instead of just shopping for material goods, they are in fact looking for something deeper. Comfort, companionship, and just a sense of belonging. Plush toys, particularly the Labubu line, exploded in popularity this year, as you would be aware. Posts about the brand on social media multiplied more than 30-fold in China, while searches jumped 26 times as compared to last year. At the same time, posts around AI partners surged by almost 2,000 times, and searches skyrocketed over 200,000 times. But it does not just stop with toys and chatbots, of course. Many Gen Z consumers are now paying for companions to join them in activities like hiking, gaming, or even visiting Disneyland reportedly, while others are allegedly investing in virtual pets or digital relationships. The report highlighting that about 1/3 shop for emotional value when they are happy. Nearly half do so when they feel stressed, pressured, or alone. For 47% of the young people, emotional consumption eases anxiety, while another third believing it motivates them to keep going. On an average, each consumer spends around $133 a month to satisfy these emotional needs, with nearly 1 in 5 willing to spend over 2,000 yuan. Experts saying the trend reflects growing uncertainty among the Chinese youth in recent years. Due to a slowing economy, property values have fallen, jobs scarce, while according to China's Bureau of Statistics last month, China's unemployment rate among those between the ages of 16 and 24 stood at nearly 19%. Experts saying that amid all of this, young people are seeking validation, stability, personal expression through what they buy. And for China's Gen Z, plush toys and AI friends is not a small matter. They appear to be lifelines in rather uncertain times. It's been 3 days since India lifted a record 9th Asia Cup title after beating Pakistan. But the row over the trophy is far from over. A day after reports claim that the ACC chief, Mohsin Naqvi, apologized to the BCCI for his behavior, Naqvi, who also serves as the PCB chairman and Pakistan's home minister, has strongly denied those reports. Taking to social media, Naqvi said, I'm quoting, "Let me make it absolutely clear. I have done nothing wrong and I have never apologized to the BCCI, nor will I ever do so." He went on to blame India for dragging politics into cricket and even claimed that he was ready to hand over the trophy on the day of the final. He added, I'm quoting, "If they truly want it, they are welcome to come to the ACC office and collect it from me," quote unquote. On Tuesday, the Asian Cricket Council met for the first time since the final. The BCCI Vice President Rajiv Shukla and former Treasurer Ashish Shelar represented the Indian board virtually. The ACC President Mohsin Naqvi addressed the members of the meeting but did not refer to the trophy row. Naqvi did not even congratulate India on winning the Asia Cup, which led to both Shukla and Shelar logging out of that meeting. Not handing over the trophy to the victorious team was an unprecedented development, and the latest flashpoint between India and Pakistan could escalate into another unprecedented development. The BCCI is clearly not happy with the PCB chief and possibly could want him removed from his position, citing breaches of sporting protocols and questions around his impartiality and conduct. The BCCI believes Naqvi's actions in Dubai were carried out in his capacity as Pakistan's interior minister rather than as the ACC chief. Now, let's just first tell you how ACC chiefs are elected. and if they can actually be removed. By tradition, the ACC presidency is rotated among full member boards. The elections are held during the annual general meetings, and the elected official holds the post for 2 years. And there is a provision for the tenure to be extended. It's worth remembering Naqvi was only appointed ACC president in April, after Jay Shah vacated the post to become ICC chair. So can an ACC president be removed from his post? Never before has an ACC president been removed from office, and neither is there a removal process explicitly outlined. But BCCI could call for a vote of no confidence against Naqvi, and then they would require majority support. Since the ACC is a separate body than the ICC, it has its own set of rules, but the BCCI can also request the ICC to step in, citing mismanagement. The BCCI has vowed to register a complaint against Naqvi with the ICC, which means the matter will probably be escalated to the global governing body. The ICC has the authority to ensure that all cricket bodies and tournaments adhere to its rules, regulations, and code of conduct. If the ICC feels that there has been any violation of integrity, governance, or fair play within the ACC, it can investigate and take action. The youth putting governments on a corruption watch. Gen Z protesters have taken to the streets in several parts of the world. 3 countries currently, in a way, at boiling point due to anti-corruption movements driven by youngsters: Morocco, Madagascar, and Peru. In Madagascar, protesters demanding the resignation of the country's president. They have now called for a general strike. The calls for sweeping reforms coming amid growing dissent and outcry over the failure of electricity and water supplies.
What we are demanding is the resignation of the president because we no longer agree with his policies, especially the suppression. We don't like it at all. The forces are no longer working to protect the population, but to frighten it, and we are not afraid at all. Moreover, oppression is not a solution.
The demand has been raised after the leader sacked the Prime Minister and the entire government in response to demonstrations which have since turned chaotic and deadly. The students are joining in as well, calling for a complete overhaul of the system.
I think that this movement is the way to change the system. We need to rearrange things because it's this system that makes it easier for power to be monopolized by a certain group of people who only care about their own well-being.
Across several parts of Morocco, the youth clashed with the police on the 4th day of the protest. According to a human rights body in the country, authorities have arrested more than 200 protesters in the capital city. In fact, Moroccans have been demanding reforms in the sectors of public health and education. The latter triggered involvement from Gen Z demonstrators, while it is the death of 8 pregnant women in hospitals allegedly, which snowballed into public anger seen on the streets. The weekend in Peru's capital witnessed unrest as well. 19 people have been injured in anti-government protests. Thousands are out on the streets against growing accusations of corruption and extortion by the government. Heavy police presence triggered a standoff between the protesters and the authorities.
They're just standing there guarding. I imagine they've had their salaries raised so they can stand there and do nothing. Here they all gather bravely and stand united, but when it comes to crime out on the street, no. They're never there and they always show up late, which is infuriating.
Unrest on the streets of Peru increased after the president's government passed a law on September 5, which mandates contribution from young people towards private pension funds. The law coming at a time when the people are scrambling with job insecurity. In a ceremony steeped in tradition, Oscar-winning actor Gary Oldman was officially made a Knight Bachelor, an honour conferred by the Prince of Wales at Windsor Castle. The award for services to drama, recognising a career defined by an unparalleled commitment to character and an astonishing versatility that made him one of his generation's most revered actors. The 67-year-old London-born star, now Sir Gary Oldman, described the moment as very emotional. In fact, at the ceremony, the Prince of Wales expressed his admiration for his role as the cynical agent Jackson Lamb in the TV series Slow Horses. He then joked that he would like to give the actor a bath, making a reference to his iconic performance. The knighthood is a testament to a career built on disappearing into his roles. In the elite film circle, in fact, he is rightfully called the chameleon who has defied typecasting by becoming his characters from the inside out. His acting legacy is not one of a single recognizable star persona, but a mosaic of indelible performances that have spanned decades. His early career was marked by raw portrayals that established him as a talent of immense power, from the volatile and doomed punk rock icon in Sid and Nancy to the brilliant but troubled playwright in Prick Up Your Ears. He showcased an intensity that was both captivating and unsettling. In the 2000s, he endeared himself to a new generation of filmgoers with two major franchise roles. In the rebellious Sirius Black in the Harry Potter series and the incorruptible Commissioner Jim Gordon in Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. He anchored these larger-than-life worlds with performances of quiet dignity and emotional depth. Through his use of extensive prosthetics, he did not just imitate Churchill, he embodied him, capturing the man's wit and despair. And as he takes his place among the giants of celebrated British knights, he remains an actor who, through his dedication to his craft, has brought distinction to the stage, screen, and as Prince William noted, continues to entertain audiences across the world. The festive spirit has taken over India as we step into the 9th day of the 10-day celebration, Navratri, being marked with devotion, color, music and dance across the country. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. This is me, Molly Gambhir, signing off. Thanks for watching.
So today is a historic day for peace, and Prime Minister Netanyahu.
If Hamas rejects your plan, Mr. President, then Israel will finish the job by itself.
Israel would have my full backing to finish the job.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.